Every who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton. But where to get great prices on gifts, they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and no prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our Mom Sense and Dad Sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and have had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton.
It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode. My family is a rambunctious party of 5, and living organic is a priority for us. We sleep for 1/3 of our lives. Think about that. So it's important for me to know that my kids aren't breathing in unnecessary chemicals 10 to 12 hours a night. I discovered Naturepedic at a mom conference and have been a believer ever since. They're a company that designs mattresses, pillows, and bedding that are certified organic with numerous awards to prove it. I love the Verse collection, which is 100% GOTS certified organic cotton and wool, is free from glues, adhesives, or polyurethane foam, and passes flammability standards without fire retardants or chemical additives. Plus, for my twins, their 2-in-1 transitional kids mattresses were a game changer. Once they were potty trained, we could just flip from the waterproof side to the quilted side. If you're looking for organic sleep essentials for your family, look no further. Shop at naturepedic.com and use my code MOMSENSE to receive 15% off your order. And rest assured, pun intended, you're in good hands. Welcome back to That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast that helps you hone in on your built-in sixth sense, your mom sense and dad sense. I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta, former CNN journalist and podcast host, and of course, proud mom of 3. Today's episode is brought to you by our brand partner, Naturepedic, the leading organic mattress brand trusted by parents who want safer, healthier sleep for their families. Today, we're diving into one of the biggest challenges every parent faces: sleep. From those long nights with our newborns to toddler regressions, which actually don't have to happen, it's something that impacts the entire family's well-being. I am joined by COURTNEY ZENTZ, sleep expert and founder of Tiny Transitions, which is dedicated to helping families build healthy sleep habits. COURTNEY has been featured on CBS, Yahoo, and Thrive Global, and she is on a mission to help all of us raise happy, well-rested children. COURTNEY, welcome to That's Total Mom Sense.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, I'm so glad that we are doing this in person in New York City. It just adds a little extra touch.
I will say New York is my love language, so it's a nice escape from suburbia today.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for being here. Let's kick it off with you telling us a bit about yourself and your background.
So I got into the space of pediatric wellness and sleep accidentally, really. I was a corporate executive for about 20 years in my career and had my first child and thought, oh, I got this. I'm super type A. I'm going to rock it. I got everything. I'm going to sit home and this baby's going to sleep and I'm going to have milk flowing out of me like Betsy the cow. And didn't work that way. And so I very quickly realized how difficult being a parent was and how there really was no village. My mom passed away when I was 25 and I came home from the hospital and was like, this is crazy that I don't know what I'm doing. And, my husband was back to work on day 2 of our son Max being born. He was the controller for an international company and it was month end. So he's like, peace, I got to go into the office, So I sort of got thrust into it because I'm like, there has to be a better way than what's happening in this dumpster fire of a day right now for me. And that's really where Tiny Transitions was born, through a lack of sleep, a lack of knowledge, a lack of support, and all the things that new parents face even still today.
Yes, yes. And it's something that we all can relate to. And, I've been there, so I know exactly what you're talking about. So I was doing my research and I listened to one of your interviews where you shared how you had a whiteboard where you just kind of broke down all the activities that needs to be done when you bring a baby home. And I thought that was brilliant because I think that, they don't come with manuals. And if you talk things out with your partner and your village, everybody knows where they need to step in and take over.
Well, I think that was the biggest thing. And I love my husband dearly, but he would come home from work and was like, what do you need me to do? I'm like, look around the house, do the laundry, change the diaper pail, sterilize my pump parts, cut the grass. It was like all these myriad of things. And to his credit, he was trying to be helpful, but he also needed to ask what to do. And we were driving to the beach and my son at this point was about 8 weeks old. And I was like, I'm having a breakdown. I can't do this. And he's like, just get a whiteboard. And I wanted to, at the time, probably punch him in the face. I'm sorry. But I was really just like, what are you talking about? And lo and behold, 8 years later, we just in the fall released the Tiny Task Board, which is a nice version of my whiteboard. And then it comes with the secondary Little Wins reward board, which I'll be happy to send for your littles.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
It's like a 2-part set, but it's exactly that. It was come home and know what needs to be done for the week. Yes. Go to the store because you see the shopping list and you see that we need grapes and diapers and wipes or whatever, right? And it was also, hey, there's a doctor's appointment tomorrow. Don't ask me. Do the laundry, do our laundry, clean the bathroom.
Right.
And whether it's a spouse, a partner, a caregiver, or just a friend that comes by and is like, how can I help you? How about just come hold the baby so I can take a shower? I remember in maternity leave, my girlfriend Laura was living across the street and she had sent a text like, what do you need? I'm like, I don't have any toilet paper. And she brought me like 20 rolls of toilet paper. But I was so proud and so type A and so trying to be the super mom and do it all and was too embarrassed to ask for help because I didn't really have that village and I didn't want to burden people.
Yeah.
And what I now look back on and realize is it's okay to ask for help from whoever is willing to provide it, and people are willing to provide it if you just ask, and I think that for me was like a big eye-opening moment where it was like, okay, a lot of my clients will joke because I've talked to them about the whiteboards in the past 10 years of sleep consulting. And they're like, you saved us from divorce. Because it just makes one less thing that as an overburdened, overstimulated mom, you don't have to answer that question. Like, what do you need me to do?
Yes.
Just come in.
Because that's triggering.
Yeah. It's like, what do you need?
And it's something that's visual. Everyone sees it. And what I think is so brilliant about it is that when your kids are of age, they will be able to cross things off, whatever it might be for the household tasks. So that's great.
Well, and that's where we started this as an iteration of one or two things. But, the Little Wins reward board, it comes with it. They're sold as a set, but it's a little gumball machine. And it could be if you sit at the table and eat your dinner, you get a gumball. My kids are 9 and 11 and still use it for every hour they go to sports, they get a gumball.
Oh, nice.
And when it's full, they get to go to, my daughter likes hand sanitizer right now. She's in that stage. So she gets to go pick out a hand sanitizer at the store. But if they skip a sports practice, they lose a gumball. So life isn't all just rewards, so it's a good balance.
Right. I love that. What inspired you to become a pediatric sleep expert and actually come up with the idea for Tiny Transitions?
So it was seeing the gap in the space of a lack of knowledge. When I first set out to research this, there really wasn't a lot of help. And I remember speaking to the lactation counselor at the doctor's office, trying to get some guidance and support, just doing research. I just started Googling and started finding books on sleep for babies. And I was like, okay, this makes sense. There's a science to this, you know? And that was the biggest eye-opening moment where somewhere around 8 weeks, I had to go back to work at 12 weeks and worked full time. My kids went to daycare from 12 weeks through basically the start of kindergarten, both kids. And I just saw this gap. I'm like, if I only knew this, I would be in a better place. So I sort of took it upon myself to do the research, implement structure and routine and consistency. I watched nap schedules and intake, and I started to understand that you can manage things that, look at what you can control, right? Is how I kind of say it. What can you control? Control that. And then all the variables become much more easily identifiable that you can isolate and fix, right? If your baby's getting the right naps at the right time and they have the right intake, which you can measure either through bottles or a scale, you can start to go, oh, well, if they're still uncomfortable, is it because they have gas? Is there silent reflux? Are they tugging on their ear with an ear infection? Is the tooth popping through? And you can more easily isolate why things are happening.
That makes a lot of sense. I want to get to, our topic du jour, which is sleep, something that all parents obsess over. Why is understanding infant and toddler sleep so important for all of us at the onset when you bring baby home?
Parents need sleep. Kids need sleep, right? It's so important because sleep is the foundation for which the house is built. I've said that for years, and you can't build that foundation on a rocky base. And so sleep is that first and foremost thing. Children grow when they are sleeping, right? Your body is secreting a growth hormone, your tissues, your muscles, everything is growing when you're sleeping, right? That's deep sleep. It happens overnight. And when it's consolidated, it's restorative, So I think parents look at sleep and it's always the first thing that seems to go. For parents, it's the first thing that seems to go. And for kids, it's something that I don't think parents realize, like how they feel in the morning from getting up 6 times with their children is how their child feels. They just can't express it. Or if they do, it's through poor eating or bad naps or behavior, challenges, when sleep can really start to heal the body and the mind and build, good growth and development.
Yes. I love that you say that it's the foundation, and the fact that, your baby is growing in their sleep is incredible. I feel like the synapses that go off in the brain, I'd love to see like a photo map of that, you know? I'm thinking like dream state during like Inception, the movie. But I feel like that is something that we'll never be able to like truly understand, but it is what sets the precedent for your functionality, your mood, your behaviors, your routine, your productivity, all of that in the daytime.
Yeah.
And that goes for adults and kids alike.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, routine is something that I think is doable for everyone in a way that works for your family.
Yes.
It doesn't have to just be this strict routine that this book says to do. It's like you've got to make it what's going to work for you. I have families all over the world that we work with, and sometimes they're like, we don't eat dinner till 10:30 at night. I'm like, okay, then bedtime will be at 11, and here's what your nap schedule is going to look like. It's going to look different, but still support that lifestyle while you can. And sometimes a baby will dictate their schedule as they grow, because if they start to only take 1 nap a day, you've got to sort of manage to, at a point of around 12 months, where they need to go to bed from a bedtime standpoint. But it's that consistency and like flexibility to work within the constraints and goals of your family, but do it in what also supports the best growth and development for a child, you know.
So let's start from the beginning, the newborn phase. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that parents have around newborns and their sleep habits?
You don't have to wait it out. You can build healthy sleep with a newborn. And I know it's shocking for parents to hear that, because the first thing that happens when you're pregnant is parents go, wait till they're born. You'll never sleep for 18 years. It's like, I sleep more now with 2 kids than I ever did in my 20s, for sure. Because it's something that they can learn from a skill standpoint. Newborn sleep, they're very loud. They're in a very active state of sleep. I did not realize that all night, you would hear, and it's their bodies doing things as they're growing in that active state of sleep. But babies sleep a lot. When they come home from the hospital, it's 16 to 18 hours kind of up through those first 3 months. So there's a lot of sleeping and there's a lot of eating and a lot of kind of blank staring. But the eating is what fuels sort of the balance in sleep. And I talk to parents a lot about, at the newborn stage, you're not sleep training a newborn. So I want to be very clear on that, because I think people come to me and they're like, you're sleep training newborns. I'm like, I'm not. I'm teaching a skill from birth without ever needing to cry, so that your baby grows that skill. And then you don't have to sleep train. A lot of people wait to some arbitrary number of like 6 months, and then they call and they're like, we want to sleep train our baby now. I'm like, well, we can, because they need help in learning the skill. But if you start from birth with very deliberate things, you can build a good sleeper from birth. And we have an amazing newborn book on our website. It's free. It's 40 pages. It's right with all of our resources. And it walks you through all of this in detail. So if you need it I can share a link with you
Yes,
for that.
yes. What's the link?
So it's just out on tinytransitions.com, but it's our free resource library. There's about 25 different deliverables out there. They're all free, but they're quality, help in understanding, right? A newborn needs intake. They need 24 to 32 ounces of milk.
Right.
A baby's belly is growing the whole first year, right? It starts as a walnut, becomes an egg, becomes an orange, becomes a grapefruit, becomes a cantaloupe, right? So you can see that, yes, they can take larger feedings as they grow through the whole first year, but they need the same amount of milk in a 24-hour period. That doesn't change. So it's 24 to 32 ounces for optimal growth, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics. So yes, a newborn should wake at night to eat. Where people go wrong is that they wake at night to eat, and then every single time they're awake at night to eat, they then use that feeding to put the baby back to sleep. Whereas if you feed them, burp them, and then put them back down awake, your baby will naturally resettle to sleep because now their belly's full.
Yes.
And they get a nice burp and they go back down awake on their back. And, they can slowly build that skill and the longevity in the way they're eating. And you want to set it up, nice full feeds. I always say kind of every 3 hours throughout the day. Yes, you always feed a hungry baby, but if you kind of get in a little bit of a full feeds every 3 hours, I find it minimizes gas and colic versus feeding on demand, which I see in our clients can often lead to, by the end of the day, their gas tank is kind of so full that they're uncomfortable. So full feeds throughout the day yields the ability for them to sleep a little bit longer at night. Even with newborns, you can kind of get 1 5 or so hour stretch somewhere in either the day or night. And most parents want it at night, if you set things up properly and then they get the right amount of sleep paced throughout the day. Like, don't let them sleep for 5 hours during the day or they're going to be up half the night.
Exactly. Exactly. One thing that I just took away from your explanation is that you don't want to do the food coma and pass out, because there should be like a demarcation of, we have just finished our feed and we were burped. And then now we're ready for the sleep. It's digestion happened and now it's sleep time. So I love that. I want to share a resource that I read that I felt was really, really groundbreaking for me. It was a book called 12 Hours Sleep by 12 Weeks. And it was by Lisa Abaddon and Susie Giordano. Classic. I'm sure many of you already know it, but I loved how it broke down that this is all math, and very similar to what you shared, Courtney, that let's say we have 24 ounces of milk is what a child needs, and there's 24 ounces in a day. And if you have a baby who's just a few days old, their stomach only has the capacity to take an ounce at a time. So that's an hour a day of feeds. But eventually, when they can take 3 ounces and then 4, then, at 4, you only do 6 feeds. When they can take 6 ounces at a time, and usually this happens definitely at 6 months, you can actually tie the 1 month to the 1 ounce and the 6 month to the 6 ounces. When they're doing the 6 ounces in a feed, that you're only feeding them 4 times. It's 6 a.m., 12 p.m., 6 p.m., 12 a.m., push it up, 11 p.m. dream feed. You're good. You're good from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. And that's what I did with my twins. And it was just like so genius. I just felt like, okay, we have a system in place. I also want to just call out how we need to have a village, because it's not something that you can do alone. And, if it's your partner that you're like, okay, you're going to do this middle of the night feed, I want you to share your hack for that. For us, we had our boy-girl twins, and I was fortunate to have a night nurse help us in the nighttime. So she was like a ninja. She was a godsend. What she did was I would feed them their dream feed, and I would let them kind of empty both breasts. So it was like nursing, and I would have either one when they were much younger, like sub 4 months, I'd tandem feed them. But that was around 11, and both the twins got their feed at that time. And then around the 3 a.m. mark, one baby would start stirring. So she'd come to my room, knock on my door, pass me a kid. I didn't know who. It was like, is it Krish? Is it Sahana? It was a surprise every night. And then I would nurse that child while she bottle fed the other one. And then that got them in sync with when their feeds were. Because if you had one child with their own schedule of feeding and napping, and then another one, we would have been screwed. Yeah. We would have been just up around the clock with no respite at all. So we did that at the same time. And then they would get another feed around the 6 a.m. mark where I'd wake up, and then I'd go back to bed till like 9-ish, So it worked out for us. But I think that schedule was so important. We even kept a journal where we wrote down the amount of ounces that they took in and then the time that they slept, so their nap time, so that again, me, my husband, our night nurse, we're all on the same page with, did they nap later today? Did they skip the nap? Like what's going to happen at nighttime? And then even their diaper changes and then their color of the poop. So it was like, okay, this is yellow. This was a olive color. Like we just wrote, yes, we wrote everything out for a year. And even though it was tedious, I still have that journal somewhere in a box in the basement. But I feel like it kept us on our routine. And it's kind of like James Clear's Atomic Habits. Like we just knew we had that in our back pocket. Like, what's up with Suhana today? Oh, the nap didn't happen. Oh, her poop was green. Like you just knew.
Well, I think it's important you mention it in that way, right? Because you have variables. You have 24 to 32 ounces of milk. How do you get that if you're nursing and you don't know how much you're transferring? Because that's a big question I get. As a CLC, I have that because I want people to feel like they don't have to choose between only this way or only that way. Like you can have a successful nursing relationship and a baby that sleeps well, and you can do it with balance, right? The number one thing I tell parents to register for, a scale. If you are exclusively breastfeeding and not pumping, get a scale. And that way you can know, hey, with this feed, I transferred 3 ounces. Hey, with this feed, I transferred 6 ounces. Hey, with this feed, I only transferred 2. And to your point, you think Lefty's a powerhouse and it's maybe a dud at the 2 o'clock feeding, right? And so numbers makes it knowledge, right? And if you're having your spouse or partner help, like I know you'd mentioned, the dream feed, what we did was, the first night we came home from the hospital, my son was screaming at 2 a.m. and I'm like, I just fed you for 25 minutes on both breasts. Like you're not hungry, or so I thought, right? Well, nobody told me your milk didn't come in yet. And I wasn't a lactation counselor at the time. And my girlfriend Serena came over in the morning and he was still screaming. And I remember sobbing. My husband's sleeping soundly in his room. Again, I love you. But he was sleeping soundly and I was crying and I'm like, what did we do? Yeah. She came over in the morning and grabbed one of the sample formula things and gave it to Max and he took it and passed out. She's like, he was hungry. Your milk didn't come in.
Right.
Later that day, my milk came in. My booze turned into footballs, but it was little things. I didn't know that at the time. And we started doing dream feeds. So it was basically okay, what kind of structure and schedule can I manage with putting the baby down for bedtime at between 7 and 8 o'clock based on the last nap. And there's a lot of naps when they're newborns, right? And then I would pump. And then I would go to bed. I would shower, go to bed. My son would be down. I'd go to sleep. And then at 10 o'clock, my husband would stay up. We always seem to have kids during March Madness, which was great for him. And so he would go in and get Max or Savella, my daughter. And we did the same thing with both. And he would grab the pumped milk. And if there was some on the counter, fine. If not, he would heat it up and would offer a full bottle. And then I slept from 7 or 8 o'clock till the next waking. And by then, my breasts were full. I had to get rid of the milk, either through eating or pumping. And I would get a solid chunk of 6 hours, which chronic sleep deprivation is good for no one, just so we're clear, because people will say, oh, it's just a season of the time. It's not good mental health. It's not good for postpartum. I had postpartum anxiety and depression. I had no idea those first 8 weeks until I figured out that I could control some of this stuff on my own, but because nobody told me, And so we did that. And I slept a solid chunk at night. Then my husband would sleep 10 to 6. He'd go to work in the morning. I didn't feel like a dumpster fire, which is now aptly what we name some of our sleep packages. We have Struggle Bus, Walking Dead, and Dumpster Fire for a little bit of levity in our packages. But it is. It's you're just so,
yes. And you're like, give me the resources. Help me. Now, let's get into nap schedules and when you know that your baby's ready for that transition of 2 naps to 1 and how you know when it's okay, this is the right time. We can do this.
Yeah, absolutely. So timing is a big thing from birth with naps, right? When your body wakes in the morning, it's creating a neurotransmitter called adenosine. Too much of that kind of tells your brain, hey, you're ready to take a nap. And if you do take the nap, great. Your adenosine levels fall and you kind of stay in this nice little flow. When babies get overtired and people say, oh, my kid's not ready for a nap, or they only take 2 naps and they're 3 months old. I'm like, that's not great for the fact they're going to get overtired and overstimulated, So naps, the first 6 months are a lot, right? You kind of go from 6 naps to 5 naps to 4 naps to 3 naps to 2 naps. Somewhere between 6 and 7 months is where you hit normalcy. One, you have two things happening. From birth as a newborn, you have 50% REM, 50% non-REM sleep. And then by about 3 months, they move to cycle sleep, right? So every 45 to 60 minutes. And that's where I think people go, oh, this is the 3-month sleep regression or the 4-month sleep regression. Like, really, you can miss those if they have the skill of sleep. Regressions happen when babies become more acutely aware that they are using the breast to sleep, using the bottle to sleep, rocking to sleep, So usually around 6 months, you're on kind of a transition from 3 to 2 naps, which biologically makes sense. They can consolidate naps now because that's developmental, the ability to connect cycles. Okay. And then by 7 months, most of my clients, unless they're in daycare, which my kids were daycare babies, they did 3 one-hour naps a day because that's the way the daycare did it. But most babies can take 2 longer naps. Yeah. And that happens from about 7 months through anywhere between 12 and 14 months. Okay. When you can make the transition to 1 nap. I love 1 nap. Yes. So I went at 12 months. It was like, happy birthday. You're on 1 nap today. Right. And so you got there like as quick as you could get there. It was, a lot of times people try to ease into it. Well, the problem with easing into it, if you notice that they're fighting the second nap, right? And parents want to make the jump, but they don't time it right, then you're stuck with a really long wake window to overtired, which causes multiple night wakings, trouble settling overnight, and early morning wakings. So basically, somewhere between 12 and 14 months, when you notice that your baby is either taking really short naps or fighting that second nap, or just being a little bit more like kind of resistant to a second nap, get to 12:30. If you want a 7 to 7 type of day, right? And I'm giving that as an example. Parents can manage kind of their own schedule. But if you wanted a 7 to 7 type day, your first nap needs to be somewhere around 12:30 because you have to balance not getting overtired. I would far prefer a baby be a little bit overtired going into a nap while they stretch those first couple days versus overtired going to bed because it triggers trouble settling, lots of tears, multiple wakings overnight, and then early morning wakings, which is kind of counterintuitive to what we think. I know a lot of grandmas are like, no offense to grandmas, but they kind of say like, oh, keep the baby up. They'll sleep longer at night. It's like they do not. Do not listen to them.
Yeah.
Do not listen to that.
Total myth.
Yes. Yeah. So it's just, you pay attention to that and then you just get there using, I tell clients, I'm like, put them to the window, get natural vitamin D, draw a bath, or if you have a nanny or a helper or they're in daycare, different types of stimuli, sunlight, sensory, a bath, bubbles, putting them in the grass to touch and feel the grass, right? Like depending on your situation, there's a lot of different sensory activities for a baby that's at that age that can kind of stimulate them. I love food. I would do yogurt bites. My kids would pound those little yogurt bite things, but it was good, kind of development of their motor functions. And they would then like kind of learn to put it in their mouth and it would dissolve. But it kept them busy and that kept them stretching. So, so they had lunch around, that 12 o'clock and then they laid in their crib and went down for sleep. And if parents are struggling with that, like they're still eating to sleep or as a newborn, they fall asleep every time they're on the boob or bottle, I always tell them like feed them in a diaper. It's kind of chilly, right? And what do you do when it's kind of chilly? Woo, you're not cozy, comfy. If they're in like a suit and they're all like bundled up and warm, exactly. Like they pass out. But if you can feed them even during the bedtime routine in just a diaper, it does 2 things. One, they're a little more awake and alert, both on the boob or the bottle. You have to get a solid burp. You have to put them in their pajamas and then put them in a wearable blanket to make sure, they're cozy and comfy all night, but in a safe capacity. And put them to bed. And then, they're awake going to sleep. And that slowly builds the skill of the safe sleep from birth.
And so what would you recommend us saying when, friends just very casually ask, is your baby sleeping through the night?
The $1 million question.
Yes. When's that happening? So tell us.
It is a loaded question because it relies on 2 things. The ability for a baby to independently settle to sleep, meaning that they can go to bed themselves, which is a skill, and then intake, right? 24 to 32 ounces. Obviously, timing is important because you have to avoid, the fluctuations in hormones and overstimuli and things like that. But that's the general answer. So I have 2 clients right now that are both 4 months old, sleeping through the night. And I have people that come to me with a 9-month-old that's still waking 3 times a night to feed. And so it's not just implement this one way. Babies can sleep through the night when they get 24 to 32 ounces and they have the independent skill. And it's not just rip these feedings out and it messes with your supply if you're nursing and stuff, right? Like there's deliberate ways to do things where you slowly shift. I kind of say you rob from Peter to pay Paul. Mm-hmm. So you can essentially, if you're in the process of trying to shift that to get your baby to sleep through the night and they have the skill, but they're still waking to eat, right? Don't let them eat to sleep. So use food as nutrition, not as the mechanism to fall asleep, right?
I'm with you.
And then every night, you sort of cut it by like 30 seconds if you're nursing or by like a half an ounce if you're tracking it. If you go to Vegas in the middle of the night and get crab legs at the buffet, you're not going to eat breakfast, right? I would love crab legs and bacon right now, but that's, I'm past that age of Vegas buffets in the middle of the night. But, it's shifting. You're moving it from here a little bit at a time. And then naturally, as the skill builds, the wakings for eating, because they're getting more in the day, will now shift out. When babies are waking the exact same time every night, that's generally a habit.
Right.
Because they're hitting a spot in their cycle. If they're going to bed at the same time, it becomes predictable. And then if they're waking and eating to sleep, you've created that association. So it's just paying attention to those things and knowing like, yes, feed your child overnight as appropriate, but they can sleep through the night once they get the intake and once they get the right skill to do so. So when babies do that, it's going to be different depending on nursing, formula, tracking, guessing, So I always say start with the numbers and that's a really good indicator of how to do it.
Hey there, that's Total Mom Sense fam. It's Kanika. I recently interviewed Christy Lord and Lindsay Droz, the two powerhouse moms behind the brand Lavant Collective. The name is derived from the French words laver, to wash, and avant, to be ahead. I am a bona fide neat freak, and I swear by their products. Some of my faves are the hand soap, laundry detergent, and room spray that make cleaning feel luxurious. The multi-purpose cleaner works on countertops and even gets stubborn stains out of the sofa. Everything is plant-based, paraben-free, and phthalate-free, and have naturally derived fragrances like bergamot, clean linen, and their all-new winter fur, which leave lingering, soft notes that aren't overpowering. Each package comes wrapped in a box, so it fits in with your decor and doesn't look like clutter. And most products range from just $20 to $30. You've got to try this brand. Shop lavantcollective.com and use code MOMSENSE to receive 20% off your order. That's Lavant Collective, spelled LAVANT collective.com, and use code MOMSENSE, MOMSENSE, for 20% off. A bientôt. And now let's talk toddlers. What should we know about them and, the amount of sleep they should be getting? And, they have more stimuli and they're mobile and there's so much more going on in their lives now. Tell us how we can create those healthy habits for them.
I love toddlers. I love toddlers because they're vested in the success inevitably, right? Because they have a little voice in the matter now, right? Babies are learning a skill. You're not sleep training toddlers, right? For the most part, toddlers, I say start around 18 months where they have a voice. They know if they throw their pacifier, you're going to bring it in for them. If they say, mama, mama, out, and then you pull them out, they know that that's going to get them out of that crib, for example, right? Toddlers need, at this age, roughly, I'm saying kind of 2 through 5, anywhere between 11 to 14 hours of sleep. So when you manage a nap, which is about 2.5 hours in the daytime up to, based on the age, then they get 11 to 12 hours overnight. So if you have a child going to bed at 7 o'clock at night, the best thing you can do is consistency and repetition, right? It's so interesting because we're creatures of habit, right? And I think the environment that a baby sleeps in, you want it to be dark. You want it to be dark, dark, dark for that bedtime sleep because light ocularly is what triggers your body to wake up, right? We use outer space curtains in our rooms. We love them. They're easy and they're clean, which we love, but they make it immediately like, oh, it's really bright. Oh, it's really black. It's pitch black, right? You want it to be a calm and cool environment. There's research that suggests cooler temperatures is better, especially for babies, but toddlers as well. 68 to 70 degrees. You want to create a clean space for them to sleep in. Like it's a bit of a sanctuary, I mean, I diffuse like lavender in my kids' rooms at night. I want them to walk in and have it be a space they want to be in. And as toddlers, be vested in the process. Have maybe a song that you sing, Maybe it is a book that you read every night. We do 3 awesomes and 1 not awesome every single night since my kids were toddlers. We still do it to this day. My husband does it. We all do it either at the dinner table or during the put down process. And we each say 3 things that were awesome that day and 1 thing that was not awesome. And so today my awesome will be that I was in New York filming this, but we do it every night, but it just becomes routine to kids. It minimizes like screens and stuff. Like a lot of parents come to us and they're like, well, my toddler watches a little bit of a YouTube video to wind down. That stuff stimulates the amygdala and prefrontal cortex. It is blue light. It is basically sending their little brains into like, I'm awake, you know?
Yeah.
When you really want to create, like get an old school book, have a consistent routine, have a consistent time in which they go down and set boundaries. You know, we joke within our tiny transitions, like we have the best toddler sleep training and it's behavior, expectations, the support that they need to do it, and then the timing. And that creates good sleep, you know? So it's just that repetition and consistency with toddlers. It's not sleep training a toddler. Those methods will not work. Your child will cry for hours and it's not necessary. It's behavior based where you have to make some shifts and changes, but really ultimately understand like where is the rooted behavior coming from? And then how do you support them in the moment and adjust to the situation that they're in?
Yes, yes. And now let's double click on the sleep environment because I feel like this is really pivotal. Tell us about how to create that and, you know, why the mattress and the crib actually plays a major part.
So I think that recently, things that are happening in our environment and things that are with health and wellness and longevity for parents and raising, you know, good, healthy kids is something that's gotten better press recently, which is great. When I first was pregnant and registered for a mattress, we basically went to a store that will remain unnamed, but that is no longer opened. And we walked around with our little scanner and we're like, that one seems good. 2-stage. Okay. Beep. $250, right? And so that was 10 years ago, 11 years ago, right? Now there's so much more information about toxicity in products, right? And so we love, and I very much cherish everything Naturepedic that we have in our house because they're clean. They have all of the certifications, the EWG certification, which they were the first to get. But more importantly, they have clean products, right? Because you don't realize that when these mattresses are made, if you're buying certain ones, they're made with, you know, different glues and adhesives. There's off-gassing, right? There's all these chemicals that are crazy toxic that come off in the middle of the night when your baby's sleeping, when their respiratory systems are developing. And that goes for adults too. You know, people have these chronic issues and they're not looking at some of those silent things in the home, air quality impurity, the off-gassing of these products that they're using as a major factor in, you know, what that looks like. So I'm a very big, like, I try to do organic as much as I can. I also have a recovery from stomach cancer and trying to make sure that I stay as healthy as I can. So my motivation started a bit different when I was pregnant. I was like, if I can't have aspartame while I'm pregnant, why would I want it when I'm not pregnant?
Yes.
And so that sort of started my journey down like reading labels and understanding what I was putting in our environment, right? And it sort of naturally folded into the work I do now with talking about it. Like Naturepedic is such a great company and I really stand by their products because they're clean, they're made in the US, they're pure, but you want that for your baby's room. You know, they're going to be sleeping on a mattress for, if it's a 2-stage mattress as a crib, 5 years. I mean, I had to pry my kids out of their crib at 5 because I'm like, we're going to kindergarten. Can't tell your little friends in your cubby that you're sleeping in a crib at this point, you know? But those mattresses have longevity. If you turn it into a toddler bed, you got a couple more years out of that. Like they're not sleeping on this thing for a week, you know? And the same with adults. You spend a third of your life sleeping. Do it and invest in rest. Invest in those products, right? We spend all this money on these bassinets that are like $2,000. They last 3 weeks. It's like, all right, sell that on Poshmark or whatever because you're not going to need that, but you're going to be on that mattress and the pillows and you want it to be comfortable and you want to breathe in things that are not toxic. So people don't realize the silent stuff that is, you know, kind of crazy to their bodies that, you know, that it can do with some of the products. So.
Yes. And I'm with you. I mean, I know that for us, we do everything organic. Whether it's like when we're buying produce at the grocery store or when we're looking into the clothes that we buy the kids, 100% organic pajamas, like that kind of thing. And I think to no fault of their own, a lot of times parents are not as discerning about the mattress. But the fact that we sleep 1/3 of our lives, when you have a GOTS certified organic mattress that's made of the materials that you are going to be breathing in, it's something that it behooves us to forget how important that is, not just for our babies and kids, but for us too. I love our Naturepedic mattresses. We have the EOS Classic. I love how it has 2 different preference levels, if you will. So I like the medium and my husband prefers extra firm. So we get to
I'm an extra firm
customize.
girl.
Yeah, customize a little bit, which is awesome. And then back to, the chemicals that are in so many of the run-of-the-mill mattress companies out there. I did an interview with Chief Growth Officer Aaron Schultz, and he said in a typical queen mattress, there are 20 gallons of crude oil that it took to make the polyurethane foam that they use to make it. So all of these toxic additives that they're made with are just awful and being carcinogens at that. And that's something that, I'd love for you to speak to. Like, you are just this amazing, awe-inspiring survivor. And I think when we think in terms of our health, how important that is, that it's like, I don't want to be sleeping on carcinogenic material.
Yeah, absolutely. And even you don't want to start your baby on that, right? So if you start with a Naturepedic crib mattress, the thing I love is babies are going to have blowouts, right? Lots of blowouts. And so in the middle of the night, the last thing you need to be doing is figuring out where do you put your baby if you have a mattress that allows water to penetrate it, right?
Yes.
Because most of the instruction manuals will say, well, let it air dry for 24 to 48 hours to prevent black mold. Well, okay, so if you don't wait and you put the cover back on, now is it inside that mattress and your baby's breathing that in, right?
Right.
What
and
I love about
9 days for mold to form, and you won't even see it.
You won't see it and you won't know because it's inside that mattress. What I love about Naturepedic is, one, there's no glues to seal them shut, right? So it's heat sealed. And then the covers that go on top, there's kind of 2 covers. The first is a breathable and waterproof mattress cover. It's made from sugarcane. Organic sugarcane, right? And so it goes on top, and it is cool. At some of the events when I'm speaking with Naturepedic, I'm like, maybe you're pregnant, don't breathe on this one. But when you get it home, breathe on it.
Yes, yeah.
But it allows breathability. If baby turns their neck, and sometimes parents see their baby and they're kind
totally
of flipped over,
face-planted.
they're face planted, or they roll and you didn't realize. It's breathable and it's waterproof. They're going to have a blowout. They're going to pee and poop. And you just literally pop the cover off with the sheet and put a new one on, and you're done in lickety split. And then you're not ever getting that mattress wet because the mattress is 100% waterproof because it's heat sealed and the breathable waterproof cover. You don't ever have a need to mess with that. You're never going to have the challenge of mold.
Yes.
Naturepedic has solved that, and it's cool, right? And then each of their products, 100% wool, 100% cotton.
Right.
These products are quality materials. They just did a documentary of the farm in Texas where a lot of this comes from, and it's so cool to watch. The sustainability practices. And I think it's knowledge is power, I mean, there's certain stuff even where I still, this weekend we were at the beach and there was a plastic spoon in one of our things. And I was like, ew. And I threw it in the garbage and have just wood utensils now. It's I'm trying to be more conscious. I'm not perfect, but it's try to be aware and make conscious choices. If I'm at the store and they don't have organic strawberries that week, that's the one where I'm like, okay, we'll get apples this week instead, right? I try to understand the dirty dozen and know that I'm not always perfect. And I still wash all my stuff in baking soda anyway, just because, you never know. But yeah, it's just knowledge is power with all of this. And I think you're betting, I want to walk in and feel like I'm going into a spa. Every night I get excited to go to bed. It's dark. It's cool. We have the greatest bed, the greatest sheets. And I sleep like a boss, It's invest in rest, and if you can't start with a mattress, I'm like, get the pillows. They have 1 million pillows. My son has stole 3 of ours that I bought. He has a bougie sleeper now. So he has all 3. He has a toddler travel pillow. He has the stomach side sleeper pillow. And then he sleeps on a traditional, the traditional standard.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because we all have our preferences with pillows. They have the pillows
let's
from
look
a
at this
product
one right here.
standpoint. Like
Yes,
you can pull the
here it is
stuffing
right here.
out. So this is the travel pillow that I am obsessed with. We have them for our kids to travel. We come home from the beach at night and they put the little thing down in the car and both kind of pass out. My son will take it to hotels. We travel on the airplane with it. I travel on the airplane with it. The next thing they need to do is make a neck pillow. Just saying.
There you go. Yes.
So I can, keep zonk out on
coming.
the long flights. But you can pull the stuffing out. So you can make it what you want it to be. You can order the pillows with extra stuffing, which I love. So there's levels of firmness. My husband's like a super firm pillow girl, and I'm like a bougie cloud of puff girl. Like I want it to kind of wrap around me, I sleep with lots of blankets. Like I'm a cold person naturally now, missing half my organs, but I just sleep cold. So my husband sleeps hot. So we kind of have different setups, on my side of the bed, I have, more blankets than him, but it's just make it comfortable, like invest in that, and I always tell parents, like if you can't get right into everything, like start with the pillows, because the pillows and the sheets, they're just always so luxurious, I would say, to like start that sleep with.
Totally. And they're just a lower lift if you don't want to commit to the big ticket price right off the bat. Even their sheets, I'll take this one. So yes, 100% organic cotton, and this is the Percal. I love that even their waterproof is made of jersey material, so it's soft. So you're not going to hear this crunchy plastic. And like even the baby knows that like this is not comfy. So the fact that they made it waterproof but comfortable at the same time, as well as organic, is just remarkable.
Well, and I think we talk about bedwetting, right? Like toddlers sometimes will wet the bed, and they've moved up now to a twin mattress, right? They have a waterproof twin
2-in-1
mattress, right?
Yes.
So it's that 2-in-1 where it's like one side if your child is still having accidents, and then when they've kind of grown out of that, you can flip it. But to your point, like it's waterproof, it's clean, and it still allows them to kind of grow with an amazing mattress that lasts a while. And I know what's cool is Naturepedic, like we weren't sure like what size of firmness, because my husband and I both sleep very different, and you can sort of adjust it for those first days. Like go into the store. There's lots of stores in a lot of different cities where you can physically go in. And if not, you can replace the insides to make it kind of firm or more soft, So it's like cushy on the one side, and then a little firm on the other for different types of sleepers. I'm a belly sleeper still, I guess, even without my belly, I'm a belly sleeper. But I sleep on my belly, right leg bent, arm up, and babies are the same. Right. A lot of times adults find their position and they get there, and then that's where they want to be. So.
And then, and you just, like you said, you just zip it right in. It's like a, additional kind of pillow top zip in thing. Yeah. I think another thing that did it for me was the story behind it. Erin mentioned this in our interview as well, that they're a Columbus, Ohio-based company, and the factory workers are predominantly Amish. And so I love how, they really cultivate like this love for all things natural and believe it and live it. And, we're the beneficiaries when you come home with something like this, that it was made very intentionally. So as we are talking more about safe sleep, which is a priority for Naturepedic and Tiny Transitions, and all of you listening out there, could you tell us a bit about SIDS and what we should be aware of as parents, especially when we have really, really young kids?
So I get the question a lot around what should an environment look like? What things can we as a parent do to try to help prevent SIDS? First is safe sleep, right? Babies should be on their back when they're placed in the crib on a hard, flat surface. You don't ever want to see the outline, for example, of a baby's head on a mattress. That generally means that it is too soft, and then thereby a suffocation hazard. Temperature, cool. 68 to 70 is good. There's been some studies shown, and people can do their own research on cooler environments, helping support that. Pacifiers can help with SIDS prevention. Things like nursing, when it is something that a family's doing, can also help, but ultimately safe sleep. Nothing loose inside of a crib. You should not have any more than 2 fingers from the mattress side to the side of the crib. And that's one of the reasons I love Naturepedic, because they're very tight fitting mattresses, and it is nice and snug and secure around the base of the crib, which I absolutely love. So on your back and in a cool, calm environment, and then, the right temperature is a good, safe place to start. There's been some limited studies that talk about airflow and circulation. Certainly always a fan of a fan. It's certainly not going to hurt, but there's limited studies around airflow and some studies linked to the potential that also can help.
And then they're in a sleep sack when they're really young. When can we introduce like their sheets and maybe a snuggle buddy?
They do not care about any of that till probably toddlerhood, but after the age of 12 months, babies can have a little blanket in the crib, though they're not going to want it. But, parents often want to introduce maybe a lovey or a little comfort object. You want nothing in that crib before 12 months of age. And I will tell you, even these toddler pillows, they are super comfortable and great. They're not going to sleep on it traditionally till probably between 2 and 3 years old. They just don't care. They want to be on a hard, flat surface,
Right.
So just do what they want. And, if parents feel better about putting it in there. At one point, one of the sleep consultants on our team told their toddler that they could take anything they wanted to bed that night. And they took their bubble mower and carried it all the way upstairs. And she's like, okay, I said you could sleep with this. And he was about 3 at the time, but he slept with his bubble mower all night, but maybe next time a little smaller of an object, but just before the age of 12 months, you don't really want anything at all in that crib, but baby.
And then what about, that transition from crib to toddler bed? Because that's something that it's almost like ceremonious to like graduate to that.
So I think there's real big excitement in graduating. I think some parents do it too soon. And I think sometimes you have to do it. If your child at 18 months has figured out how to scale that crib and jump out, it's a hazard. They could get hurt. You do not want a child getting hurt. So you have to look at the situation for your child. If you're using it because you think it's going to fix how well they are sleeping, that is not a reason to do it. If they're jumping out of the crib or showing signs, that is more of a reason to transition to maybe the 3-sided toddler bed with, a lovely crib mattress from Naturepedic. And you can flip it, right? The Naturepedic mattresses, the 2-stage crib mattress is designed first year hard, flat surface. I mean, people feel it and they're like, oh, that's hard. It's intentionally hard, right? And then after 12 months, you can flip it and use it for 3, 4, 5 years while they're in that toddler bed until they graduate up to like the first or the next, bed in the line that is, twin size, full size. My daughter went right to the queen. She's the Serenade bougie sleeper with the hot pink room and glitter sparkle
My daughter
curtains.
too.
So we got a lot going on there.
Yes. And my boys, I mean, they're going to be in a twin for a long time till college if they can stand it.
So it's good. I mean, it is
long.
just, it's a lot of parents trying to do what's best for their family.
Yes.
Sometimes you're in a situation where parents say, should I room share? Are they in their own room? What do I do with baby? Now we have a toddler. Everybody looks different, right? You could be in New York and not have the luxury of the space. When it comes to making that transition, it's doing it when your child can understand, in my opinion, like what the boundaries mean, right? You don't want your 2-year-old roaming around the house at 3 a.m. if there's not a baby gate at the top of the stairs. Like think about what they could get into or open the front door and stuff. Like there's practicality of kind of developmental understanding for where they are. So I think, parents sometimes get really excited to make the shift, and I get it. It's exciting time. I just always say don't do it too early, because if they don't cognitively understand what it means to stay in that bed, you doing it because they're not sleeping through the night yet isn't going to fix it when they go to a bed. Now they have freedom to come in and go, can I come in? So I say somewhere between 3 and 4 is probably a safe age. You can start to incorporate boundaries. You can use your tiny task board to say, if you stay in bed all night, you get a gumball, right? Kids like boundaries like that, but there also has to be some aspect of, I kind of talk about support, right? Expectation setting. If you don't do that, and then there's a lot of tantrums happening or, middle of the night meltdowns and stuff, you have to balance the next day or in the middle of the night some of those rewards that they're getting in the form of oh, well, you want to watch Bluey this morning? I'm sorry. Unfortunately, because we didn't sleep really well, we're not going to be able to watch TV this morning, but we can try again tonight.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's not just stripping things away with consequences, but it's creating a boundary and helping your child as it's age appropriate to understand that because this choice was made, these now are the repercussions.
And for those of us who have teens at home, their sleep is really crucial, and they don't get nearly enough. I think teenagers are supposed to get at least 9 to 11 hours of sleep, if not more. And so they need to have healthy sleep habits too.
Yeah. And it emulates children's sleep in a way, right?
Right.
Consistency, structure, routine. And then you have to take away some of those things that get introduced as they become these young adults, right? You've got cell phones and screens. They're very highly addicting. Children sleep with them in their rooms. They are often on them all night, doom scrolling. And that's on a parent in my opinion, to say either the internet gets turned off, the data gets turned off, the phone automatically shuts off, or it's not welcome in the bedroom for sleep, which is how we are. We have like a little bed. We have mini little beds for all, my husband and I devices. My kids have iPads. They don't have cell phones. And it's very much like everybody's devices are going to sleep, ours included. We emulate that behavior. We don't take our phones to bed. We have old school alarm clocks.
Yes.
We don't even need them because we go to bed at 9 o'clock every night and wake at 5 a.m. every morning, like every single day.
That's amazing. That's your circadian rhythm for you.
Yeah. So I think with teens, it's looking at sugar. It's looking at caffeine. They've got this aspect of, kind of addiction to a degree with the screens. And so I think if you just try to emulate like good, clean, balanced diet rules around the devices, I'm not saying be a psycho, but no kid needs to be on at 2 a.m. at 12 years old. I had one of my son's teachers was saying like how her daughter, she woke up one night and the daughter was like in the room and was on her phone at 2 a.m, like FaceTiming her friend. And she like lost her mind. She's like, our house isn't that big and you can't be doing this. And I was like, I learned that you could actually create 2 separate Wi-Fi networks, one for like the whole house and one that's like a guest network that shuts off. And I was like, so cool. I didn't know you could do that.
Yes.
So in my
do
next
not tell them the password of the one that
right, exactly. And it
shut
shuts off. And so it's like different things you can control, but ultimately
Yes.
keep the devices out of the bedroom. They don't need to be there. And just good hygiene. I know school sports get a little later. So if they are going to be going to bed, have them eat dinner on the way home, make them a sandwich instead of coming home and having to eat dinner and shower and all this stuff. Like, so my daughter does competitive Irish dance and the classes some nights are till 9 o'clock. I'm like, we're leaving at 8:30. She goes to bed. Like that's the latest you're going to get from me. She eats dinner on the way home and she's asleep at 9 and I have to wake her at 7:30. You have to kind of set those boundaries. I know it gets harder as they're in high school, but you can create choices. They're not going to always be favorable by your kids. That's okay. Give your kids a journal to write in, a book, especially since the pandemic, there's been a lot of anxiety, right, that creeps in. I love the product. It's called Zenimal, and it is a mindset and meditation turtle. It's device free, and they have one for kids and adults, and you turn it on and it will play. I still go to sleep with it every night for 5 years. I got it when I was diagnosed with the stomach cancer because my son wouldn't sleep. He thought I was going to die. And that's heartbreaking for a 5-year-old to try to contemplate is mommy going to die? And he would fall asleep on the stairs, like just listening for my voice. And we found this product and I have since like fallen in love and we still use it to this day every night where it's like, it creates a kid-friendly meditation that they fall asleep to at night. My daughter falls asleep every night to it, but it is creating an environment of things that skills, like have them write in a journal, have that journal either be one you're allowed to read as a form to communicate with your teen or a journal that the kids know is off limits to you. And then maybe it has a little lock on it. Like when we were kids, right?
Right.
Sometimes that's a nice way for teens to communicate with parents in a way that's not confrontational. They can write down what they're feeling. And then when that notepad, for example, is out on the table, a parent knows to pick it up and look at it and write back. Yes. And then you can kind of create this, like they write it at bedtime. You respond in the morning and then going into bed that night, they can write something else. So again, it's just a different way to communicate, but it also allows them to journal their thoughts for the day and talk to you about things that maybe they'd be uncomfortable in a one-to-one situation talking about. So
I love that. We already have journals with our kids and I can't wait to see how they'll evolve when they're older. Like right now it's pictures and I love you, mama. But yeah, I'm thinking of them at 16 when I hope that they can open their heart out that way through the written form is so much easier sometimes.
And I think there's a lot of messages, right? Like I take painter's tape, nothing fancy, and I write messages to my son. He sleeps on a bunk bed and I tape messages on the top of his bed. I don't do it every night because I don't want it to become predictable, but I'll say, you're a great kid.
Yes.
When I grow up, I want to be. And then I sort of prompt what he's thinking about going to sleep versus, if they're just laying there like, I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to bed. I don't want to go to school. And it's kind of like, tell me a story. Like I tell parents, I'm like, prompt your kids. Like, tell me a story tonight. When you're falling asleep, I want you to think about what we're going to do at the beach this weekend. And then when I wake you up in the morning, I want you to tell me about what we did.
Yeah.
So they're going to bed with something positive for their situation. And it gets their mind off the racing and the anxiety,
yes.
The balloon breaths where it's like, take that deep breath in and out. And that's why, I love all these different products and it's a toolkit, it's not just like one thing isn't going to solve your sleep.
Yes.
One fix,
There's
one
no
hack, one TikTok, like they're not going to solve your issues. It's a jigsaw puzzle and you have to look at the whole puzzle and go, what pieces am I missing?
Yeah.
Which ones do I already have? And then how do I fill the gap? And then ultimately bring it together and it's consistency and repetition. We do the same bedtime routine probably, but 5 times in the 11 years that my kids were born. And people are like, that's really rigid. I'm like, you have flexibility. I'm like, you kind of say like 90-10. People can do 90-10.
Yes.
10% of the time, go to the Dave Matthews concert.
Right.
But go to the Dave Matthews concert, then
I'm coming with
the other 90% of the time, do what you're normally supposed to do.
Yes.
And you'll see that kids thrive in that environment, both teens and adults as well.
Absolutely. I want to end with a little Betty Bye rapid fire round. So let's kick it off with your favorite bedtime song.
Que sera, sera.
Oh, that's sweet. Coffee or tea after a sleepless night?
Coffee for me, but I'm a hot water lemon and a dash of apple cider vinegar in the morning. And it's an acquired taste if you've never done it.
That's a tonic.
Oh my gosh. I just get all up in there. My husband's like, what?
Yeah,
what is that?
It's so soothing. I'm totally with you. Dream vacation where you'd actually like to sleep?
I want to go to Hawaii, but I will not do the flights yet because I don't want to sabotage the sleep getting over there with the time change. So we're going to go when the kids are like 16 and 18, but Hawaii's on my bucket list.
Nice. One thing you wish all parents knew about sleep?
It's a skill. You can build it, and it just takes time and consistency. It's not going to be overnight, and it's forward progress, right? Forward momentum, a little bit at a time, and you can get to that end result. Some parents want to get there quickly. Some are more kind of slow and steady wins the race, and both end with better sleep. So there's a path for everyone to get there.
And a Naturepedic product that you'd like to recommend?
Oh, the stomach sleeper pillow is my jam. And it has this like little carve out in it. It is just to die for because I sleep, like I said, same position on my belly. But I like to essentially right leg bent, left arm under the pillow, right hand over the pillow. And then I bend my leg and the pillow conforms. Like this is a smaller version of it, but it's essentially shaped and it conforms to my body. So I kind of have that support. And especially if you're pregnant too, like it's a great pillow for that. But it gets my head and it gets my like side. So it kind of meets all my needs. So if you're looking at, something, I would say start with the pillows because they're just one for everyone. And I just love the flexibility of it. You can put more cushy in, take it out. But when you're ready, the mattresses are worth the investment. Invest in rest and, try to find something that's good for you. Go to the store and understand it and talk to your doctors. Sometimes insurance can help support the cost of mattresses because of back pain and things like that, which people don't understand. They're called medical letters of necessity and doctors write them. So certainly, I'm not a doctor, but you can look into things like that. Sleep consulting is often covered under insurance plans and we take HSA, FSA payments on our website. People don't know that the support is actually accessible to them through those benefits. So certainly check into your benefits as well.
Yes.
You never know.
Yes. I'm with you. My product of choice is the 2-in-1 because I love how you have the waterproof side and you can flip to the quilted side when your child's ready because just like your kids growing, the mattress grows with them. And I think it's just so brilliant how they came up with that. And any closing thoughts and where our audience members can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I appreciate being here. You can find me out on Instagram at Tiny Transitions. TinyTransitions.com is our website. We've got all of the different offerings out there. And we offer premium, sleep support services for families at every age and stage. I'm a huge believer in free education. I have a lot of resources out there. We have the first and only pay what you can afford sleep course. So that starts at $5, gets you the knowledge that you need. And if you want more one-to-one support, we offer that too. And so we're trying to meet the needs of the market. It's a very, tumultuous time financially for many families. So we're the first kind of looking at it going, how can I support everyone wherever they are?
Yes. And you've trained over hundreds of sleep experts around the world. So I love that you're building community as you built your brand.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
And thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thanks to Naturepedic for sponsoring today's episode. If you're looking for a healthy sleep solution for your family, visit naturepedic.com. And I've got a fun code for you. It's 15% off using my code on That's Total Mom Sense. Check the show notes for more. And as always, thanks for tuning into the show. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this episode and share it with your friends, especially those who have kids, babies, toddlers, teens on up. And trust your mom sense and dad sense. Stay strong, super parents. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to this episode of That's Total Mom Sense. You can listen to the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for That's Total Mom Sense. You can learn more about my guests by logging on to www.thatstotalmomsense.com. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, where I'm most active on social media. My handle is @KanikaChadda-Gupta. And if you have ideas for show topics or guests you can't wait to have on the show, write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. And lastly, please rate, review, and subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense if you haven't already. Thanks for being in my tribe.